Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Eating Well Pantry Edition. It's great to have you all on the line. So I want to let you know that folks are set up in listen-only mode. So if there are any questions, please put them in through the chat feature. And we'll be getting started just in a moment. So again, welcome to Eating Well Pantry Edition. This is Afia Bediako from Workwell NYC, and I'm joined on the line with Tarsha Gibbons from Gibbons Family Fitness. I want to give Tarsha a brief introduction, and then I will offer an introduction about Workwell NYC. Tarsha Gibbons of Gibbons Family Fitness has been in the field of health and wellness for over 10 years, serving individuals, businesses, schools, and communities as a group fitness instructor, nutritional advisor, and healthy cooking coach. Tarsha will lead our webinar today, but I will give you a brief introduction about Workwell NYC. Workwell NYC is New York City's workplace wellness initiative. Workwell NYC seeks to create workplaces that help our employees live healthy, active lifestyles and to provide health and well-being services, programs, and resources at the worksite and beyond. The initiatives of Workwell NYC are organized into 4 main groups. Move More, which is all about physical activity. There's lots that you can get involved in right now with the Move Well program, including a movement challenge, in addition to fitness classes being offered virtually. Our Be Well initiative is all about mental health and well-being. Take Action supports in the areas of preventative health care. And Eat Well is our healthy food initiative, with which the webinar today falls. I wanted to share some digital resources, or the calendar of digital resources being offered remotely at this time, and also the webpage where you can log on to find more information about all of these current offerings. And I will pass it on to Tarsha to begin the presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Afia. Good afternoon, everyone. First, I just want to let you know, I'm so excited to be here with you, and we're going to have a great time. First, I want to talk to you about today's goals. So today's goals would be to review the basics of a healthy plate, identify pantry staples to stock up on, learn how to maximize boxed, frozen, canned, and dry goods, discuss how to prepare and preserve food, and we will answer your questions on eating well during this unique time. So I know we are all in the house, and I know COVID-19 has affected our mobility. So eating in the time of COVID, because it's affecting our mobility, it is also affecting our access to food. But we can see this challenge as an opportunity. We can be more deliberate in our food choices, establish new healthy eating habits for ourselves and our families, and we can also be creative with our meals. So focusing on fruits and veggies would be an awesome idea. You want to aim to fill half your plate with fruits and veggies at every meal. So as you can see the plate here, that's a healthy eating plate. Okay, you have your vegetables, you have your fruits, you have your healthy protein, and your whole grains. And another thing you want to do is you also absolutely want to stay active. And drinking your water, having as much water as you can during this time, it would be very key. You want to keep an eye on your portion sizes, okay? That's because we're sitting around a lot, we really want to keep an eye on that, all right? So you have your serving sizes that you can see as a cup, a half a cup, 3 ounces, 1 tablespoon, and 6 inches, which so it equates to your fist, a cupped hand, palm, a thumb, and then your hand. And then you can see what it's best for, all the things down there. So stocking up on staples. This is my favorite. So when you go to the supermarket, you want to shop smart, okay? This is going to help you to prepare for your week to come. Okay, so buy fresh foods when you can. I know sometimes that may be a little tricky, but if you can and you have access, you want to do that. You want to choose produce that has a longer shelf life, like your vegetables, like cabbage and broccoli and Brussels sprouts and cauliflower, root vegetables like carrots and sweet potatoes, and then your fruits, apples, pears, bananas, citrus like oranges, and grapefruit. Grapefruit is one of my favorites also. Then you can supplement with boxed, canned, frozen, and dry goods. You want to look for foods with less sugar or sodium, okay? And you also want to choose whole grain versions when possible. Perishables. So your vegetables, your onions, your potatoes, your root vegetables, your fruits, apples, bananas, and citrus, dairy, milk, yogurt, and cheese, eggs, meat, chicken and ground meats, and sauces. So you just want to be careful when you're getting these things to make sure that you're going to eat them, eat them right away so that they don't perish on you or go bad. Your dry goods. These are staples you should always have. Your rice, pasta, oatmeal, cereal, coffee if you're a coffee drinker, or tea, beans, seasonings, and bread. When you have all of these things, it is so easy to just throw a meal together, or they can be standalone things by themselves. Here comes the staples. Now I have a question for you. What's the best type of food to have on hand when your trips to the store are limited? Boxed, canned, frozen, or dry? Did you get a chance to pick? Okay, 2 more seconds. We're going to give you a chance to pick. What do you think?
It looks like a mix of responses, including canned, frozen, and dried as the larger of the responses.
Okay, let's see the answer. Oh, canned kind of edged it out with 44%, and frozen with 40. All right, we're going to show you the answer. This was actually a trick question. They all are great to do right now because of the time that we're in. So just do your best. Do your best. That's all that we're asking. Okay, so the first thing we're going to go with is boxed foods. So breakfast in a box. Pancake mix, all you have to do is add water. Cereal, you can just add milk. Cereal is one of my favorites because sometimes I even have it for dinner. Doesn't matter at that point. Oatmeal, you can make a big pot at the beginning of the week, and as you can see, you can mix it with different fruits. Okay, choose whole grain options when possible, and you can add fresh fruit or dried fruit for extra flavor and nutrients. still boxed foods for lunch and dinner. For rice, make a big pot for different use for meals. Like you can make a big pot of rice, but you can use it with rice and beans. You can use it to make stuffed peppers. You can use it to make chicken and rice soup. Same thing with pasta. You can just add sauce to it and have it like that, or you can add ground meat, or you can have pasta with veggies. Crackers, you can do the same things. These things are multifunctional, right? So you can pair it with cheese or tuna or soup. Vegetable broth, you can use in soups or stews or stir fry. Okay, your canned foods. One of the things that I noticed on canned foods is if you look on the back of it, it usually has a recipe. And if you follow those recipes, it usually comes out really well, especially on the back of beans, because beans can be made so many different ways and added to so many different things. There's usually a recipe always on the back of there. So some of your staple uses for beans is you can use them in tacos. You can do rice and beans. They're great to put on top of a salad just to add some protein to the salad if you don't want to use meat. Diced tomatoes. That is a great staple because you can use it in soups. You can also add it to your pasta and tacos, of course, which today is Taco Tuesday, by the way. And like canned fish. You can have tuna salad. You can make salmon croquettes. Or you can take the salmon and you can add rice with it with some onion and bell pepper. And you can just saute it together. That's pretty good. And vegetables. So for your vegetables, you can make soup with them, or you can stir fry your vegetables, or you can steam them. You can do so many different things. Your frozen foods, vegetables. These are quick to make and you can add them to any meal. You can just throw them in there. Actually, I made cabbage yesterday and I took some frozen peas and some frozen corn and I just threw it in there with the cabbage, and that just gave me some extra vegetables inside of the cabbage. So you can also do pasta. You can do those rockin' ramen bowls now. Those are like a big thing. And you can also do stir fry. Also for fruits, you can use them for breakfast or you can have them for a snack. My smoothies are usually always in the morning. Or if I get a late night and I'm hungry and I know I don't need to eat anything, I'll just make a smoothie so I can curb the hunger and go to bed. You can also use fruits in baked goods, which is always a good thing. And then you can mix it into your yogurt. You can mix it into your yogurt just to give it a little more depth so it's not like you're hungry in like a half hour. And then pizza, easy and quick family meal. Throw it in the oven, wait your 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then go ahead and take it out. Using your meat. To prepare your meat, using little to no oil would be the best. So you want to stay in this realm of baking, broiling, roasting, steaming, grilling, or sauteing. That's always a great way to prepare your meat. Okay, if you buy in bulk, prepare meat 2 different ways to make multiple meals. For example, if you buy a pack of 12 chicken legs, you can roast 8 of them with onions, and you can use the other 4 to make chicken soup with like potatoes and carrots and onions. So you want to use your meats to make multiple things, so you used one thing but you made a couple of meals. Dry foods. So quick snacks are dried fruits or nuts. It could be a sweet treat, and you can also add them to salads. Now, just one little sidebar about nuts. You only want to have a handful, okay? You can't eat a can of nuts. It's not a snack, okay? So just a handful, all right? You can also do beef or turkey jerky, which is a quick protein-filled snack, but look for the low sodium version, okay? Because sometimes the sodium can be really high. Then that defeats the purpose. All right, slow cooking. Get out the crock pot or the Instapot. The Instapot's on my list to get. I do have a crock pot though. So steel cut oats. Those are the ones that they look like little pellets. So you can use them in the Instapot, or you can soak them overnight and then cook in the morning. With that one, I like to cook it with, I use almond milk, but you can cook it with almond milk and put some cinnamon in there, put a little bit of nutmeg and a little bit of brown sugar, and just let it cook and simmer. It's delicious. And then your dried beans, also you can soak them overnight and then you can cook on top of the stove. Or if you don't want to soak it, you can just put it right in the crock pot. Make sure you put your veggies on the bottom though. If you're going to use like onion or something like that in your beans, put that on the bottom and then put the beans on the top. And if you cook it with vegetable broth, even better. And you're going to cook it on low for 6 to 7 hours. Food preservation. What is the best way to preserve your food? Using a microwave safe container or a Ziploc bag, you know, the zip sealed bags, because they come in, you can get them as a freezer bag. So you can separate all your stuff, put it in the freezer or put it in the fridge. And then when you want to pull it out, it's usually, you can pre-portion it. So you can pre-portion your food into meal-sized amounts. That helps you to save on cooking a whole bunch of stuff and then things going to waste because it's already portioned out. Then a goal, eat your leftovers before preparing a new meal. Just make it a rule. Then what I do is I keep food containers in the front or on the top shelf of the refrigerator so they're visible. And when, you know, my husband or my son is like, oh, I want something to eat, I'm like, look on the top shelf. If there's stuff there, then that's what needs to be eaten first before I'm making another meal. So that would be very, very helpful in this time and beyond. So if you need more ideas, there's Crowdsource. You can ask friends and family, or Work Well NYC Eat Well Slack page. You can go there. You can use the internet. 2 websites with easy, fun, and creative recipes are allrecipes.com. It's very interactive and practical to use. And the Minimalist Baker has a lots of healthy recipes that require 10 ingredients or less and take less than 30 minutes to prepare. Additional resources for healthy recipes is eatright.org/food, recipes.heart.org, and jsyfruitveggies.org/recipes, and lastly, choosemyplate.gov/myplatekitchen. So the key things that I want you to remember, if you don't remember anything else, aim for a balanced diet with a variety of foods. Keep staple foods on hand to help create a greater variety of meals. Boxed, canned, frozen, and dry goods, they are your friends right now, okay? And I want you to use your pantry and plan ahead to eat well. Most of all, don't stress too much about what you're going to eat. Do the best that you can. Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can.
Thanks so much, Tarsha.
You're welcome.
We want to make sure that you understand that resources and supports are available, particularly in this unique time. If there's someone you know who needs emergency food assistance, help is available. Please visit the nyc.gov/getfood webpage, and you can also call 311 and more information is available there. Items including how to access the DOE free meals that are available now at many schools throughout the city. Also, emergency access to SNAP or other cash benefits. In addition, support is available for folks who aren't able to leave their homes and need access to food delivery programs. So please visit nyc.gov for more information about any of those programs. In addition, for any coronavirus or COVID-19 related supports, particularly around the city, any updates, the best resource is nyc.gov/coronavirus. So we do invite you to put any questions you have in the chat feature here, and I will attempt to review the questions and get them answered by myself or our presenter today. So please do post any questions you have in the chat feature. A few things that already came up that I want to just respond to for everyone. The recording, there will be a recording available for this webinar, and we will share the slides as a follow-up to all who registered and to those who could attend today or who registered and didn't attend. In addition, we will make the information available for how to stay in touch with WorkWell NYC to find out about current digital programs and the various offerings that we have available at this time. So we'll move on to questions. So Tarsha, one question that came up is, are there any recommendations about egg replacement?
So one thing that you can do as an egg replacement is it's called a flax egg. So a flax egg is, you're gonna have 1 tablespoon of flaxseed meal, and then you're gonna put 3 tablespoons of water, and that will give you a flax egg. Also, what some people do is they use applesauce to replace it. So depending on what you're making, but you can definitely do that.
Yeah, sounds like, thank you. That's a helpful suggestion, and it might vary depending on what the dish is, I guess.
Yes, definitely.
Another question came through about expiration dates, particularly on canned foods, and what we should be aware of.
Well, with the expiration date, you always want to check your expiration date. And if the thing has expired, of course, you want to toss it out. So, just be mindful of what the expiration date is. And if the expiration date is getting close, then try to incorporate that into some meal quickly.
Great. A few questions about milk. So one question is about whether milk can be frozen, maybe to extend the expiration possibly. And another, are there any recommendations on the dairy replacer?
So a dairy replacement would be your almond. They have so many different ones: almond milk, rice milk, oat milk. You can use just about any of the nut milks to replace that. And as far as milk being frozen, you can freeze it, but I wouldn't freeze it I would freeze it like to maybe use it later on in the day. I don't know about freezing it indefinitely in the freezer just to save the expiration date. I'm not really well versed in that so much.
Thanks. I know that food safety standards that have always existed, are still the ones that we can use as our sort of resource at this time. So the FDA and CDC offers, basic information about food safety, including expiration dates and the like. So
Right.
those may also be resources people could reach out to. Another question, we discussed rice and pasta, and there's a question about what appropriate replacements might be if a person can't eat those kinds of foods.
Okay, so if you can't eat rice and pasta, if you can eat grains, you can substitute with, you would be able to substitute with quinoa, because that's a grain. You could do rice cauliflower, and then they also make, you can also get zucchini noodles, that they spiral them sort of like pasta, but it's actually zucchini. Or you can use spaghetti squash, where you roast it in the oven, bake it in the oven, and then when you turn it over, you kind of scrape it, and then it's kind of like pasta.
Excellent. We're keeping it along the lines with grains and replacements. Those were great for what you just said for pasta, but what about baking flour, if there are suggested alternatives?
For baking flour, that's a good question. I wouldn't be the resource for that. I don't know what that would be for baking flour.
Yeah. Perhaps the resource you suggested, the baker.
Yeah, if you try the minimalist baker, she may have a different thing. I know instead of baking flour, whether you're meaning all-purpose flour, like you can look for a gluten-free flour or something along those lines. But as far as just replacing flour for baking, not too sure on that.
A lot of replacement questions.
Okay.
Another one that might be relevant to folks, someone asked about kids and eating vegetables.
That is so good. You make them do it. Okay. Okay. So one of the ways that I'm kidding, but really not. One of the ways that I get my son to eat vegetables is I make a green smoothie every single day. So there's about a cup or 2 cups of spinach that go into there. So that's how he gets it. And then the other thing is, I know that he likes certain things. So he's not a big vegetable eater, but he will eat like cucumbers and tomatoes. So I just cut up like a quarter of a cucumber, and he has to have that with his meal. So finding something that they like, and if they eat it every day, so what? They're getting the vegetable in. That is the most important thing.
Great. So it sounds like finding what they like and then also putting it into places that they might not have expected it, or food they already like, adding it in there.
Yeah.
I guess this is along the same theme a little bit. There was a question about calcium in milk, specifically for kids and folks who have allergies. So we discussed milk replacements, and the question is about the necessary nutrients in milk replacements, basically, and what to look out for there.
Well, you wanna look for those same things, but in essence, in a milk replacement, you don't if you're lacking calcium, a good thing would just be to get a children's vitamin that has calcium in it instead of trying to get it from somewhere else. If you just get a vitamin, then you know they're getting it, whether they're having the milk or having an alternative milk. That way, you know that they're getting it.
Excellent. Another question came through about best by dates distinct from expiration dates, particularly with canned items.
Best Buy. When it says Best Buy, that means that it's best that you buy it by this date. That doesn't coincide with the expiration date. Some of the I know that can be confusing. So when it says Best Buy, some things mean buy it from the store by this date, and other things mean consume it by this date. So sometimes it's a little confusing, but you can definitely use your judgment, especially with something like canned goods. If you open the can and there's like a little kind of film at the top, don't eat it. So, because when that happens, that means it's starting to go bad, or it's starting to go rancid. And also, if you open a can and it's not good, the smell will be a little bit off.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I guess, folks want to use what they have in their homes as they're
Yeah,
not going out too much. So
yeah,
people want to make sure that what they have in their homes is safe. So looking at the best by date, the expiration date, checking in the can to make sure that it's not
right.
damaged and it seems safe, in addition to when you're opening it, considering, using best judgment about what it looks like,
Yes.
smells like, etc. Another question came through about eggs and cholesterol. Is that something that you could speak to a little bit? I guess just the question about eating eggs very often, and if there's a risk
Well,
for.
I would definitely take everything um, in a moderate level. So I probably wouldn't eat eggs every single day. That I probably would not do. Um, but you can eat just the egg white. You don't have to eat the whole egg, since the cholesterol is allegedly in the yolk. So I would just be cautious. And also, if you already have high cholesterol, you may just want to not have them.
Thanks for that. So another question about vegetables. Want to make sure I ask the question in the way that makes the most sense.
Okay.
So a question particularly around greens and then other vegetables. We're getting out to the markets less often in many cases, and if there are concerns about fresh vegetables or vegetables going bad, and particularly greens, was asked about. So if you can offer any insight about which things are good to buy fresh and rinsing and freezing, how you might use certain items, lettuce or other greens, particularly
Okay,
asked.
so when you're doing lettuce, let's just take salad. So if you're doing lettuce and salad, the thing that you want to do is what happens is we buy it, we bring it in, and we put it in the refrigerator, and we're like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna make a salad. I don't want you to do that. I want you to buy it. I want when you come home, I want you to make the salad that afternoon or make it that night because the most of the reason why it goes bad is because we don't prepare it. So if you prepare it as soon as you get it, you are more likely to eat it and you don't have to worry about it perishing. Now, those kind of things you cannot put in the freezer because if you try to unthaw it, it's going to be a mushy mess. So the other thing you want to do with your vegetables is the same thing. If you bought spinach, if you bought kale, if you bought those kind of things, cook them right away, right? Because they're always a side dish to any meal that you're making. Yesterday, for example, I made cabbage, I made asparagus, and and spinach. So I made all three. So now all I have to do is get a grain or or starch and a meat to just complement those things, but they're already cooked and they're already made. The reason why most of our things go bad is because we don't make them. But when you make them, you are more likely to consume them.
Great. So salad, prepare and eat right away. The other greens you can cook and hold on to those for a longer time.
Yeah,
But they might wilt if you just keep them in the fridge without cooking.
exactly.
Uh, Another question about rinsing veggies and what is necessary. Was going to also say, so the question is washing fruits and vegetables, store-bought rinses, or vinegar and water.
Okay, so they do have things that are called a veggie wash, if you can find it at the supermarket, that you use to wash your veggies. The other thing is just you rinse it really well and pat it dry, and then you can store it. But those are about the only things you can do. Or if you buy organic, then I mean, not saying you don't have to rinse it because it's organic, but it uses less chemicals and less pesticides.
So maybe some of those, the one consideration is what you're rinsing it for. I
Mm-hmm.
think there's also advice about the kinds of things that are essential to be washed and rinsed, and maybe some things that are like it may not be as big of an issue if it's something that you don't put in your mouth or skin that you cut away or some things like that. But it sounds like rinses, vinegar, water, or store-bought rinses, and organic is another
Yeah,
option to reduce
yeah,
the amount of
definitely.
pesticides if that's what you're concerned about rinsing off.
Mm-hmm.
There was a question about MSG in food, and if you have any advice about that or
Stay
opinions.
away from it. That's the only advice I have for that. Stay
Easy
away
answer.
from it.
Okay. In addition to the question you answered before about greens and preparation, freezing, rinsing, etc., herbs, which are kind of similar, is there any more advisement for those and use and preservation?
Yeah, see, herbs are very tricky because they wilt right away. So that's a little hard. The thing you could do with some herbs is you could cut them away and you could put them in a Ziploc bag. But what you do is you do not unthaw them. So you take it and whatever you're going to use it in, you throw it in that pot right away so that it basically unthaws in the dish so it doesn't get wilted and mushy. So you can do that, but it's a way to preserve it, but then of course don't keep it in there in the freezer forever. Just for like say if you want to make something, later on in the week or maybe the beginning of the next week, you can do that to preserve it and then just take it straight out of the freezer and put it into the dish.
So the idea to preserve herbs, you're saying, is freezing as a suggestion, but not for too long.
Right. Not, yeah, exactly. Not like indefinitely. Yeah.
All right, it seems like those are the questions that have come in thus far. If there's
Okay.
anything else anyone wants to add in before we discontinue the chat, we appreciate all of your insightful questions. And Tarsha, we appreciate the feedback that you have been able to offer.
Yes.
So I want to remind everyone to make sure that they stay in touch. I'm sorry, that they stay in touch with Workwell MIC, of course, but we also want to get your feedback. So there is a survey that can be completed, and the information is on the slide. The slides will be sent to you, and it was also put into the chat box. So please do give any feedback about the presentation and allow us to know what your thoughts were, so we can advise, so they can advise other presentations that are to come. We have another one coming next week, and any future webinars on these topics. So please do the survey. And the chat box is still open if there are any other questions that come through, but I will move us forward with the, we had one more slide here with how to stay in touch with Workwell NYC, but you can visit our webpage. That's one of the ideal ways to stay in touch with Workwell NYC. And as I said, the slides for this presentation will also be shared that have the linkable addresses to the Slack channel where you can stay in touch about Eat Well specific things in that way, and also just reaching out, keeping in touch with us more broadly. So I'll see if we had anything else come through. It looks like we've gotten a lot of thank yous. So I'm hopeful that the presentation has been helpful for you all. It seems that way. And the questions have not continued to come through. So I'd say keep in touch with us, and anything else that you want to learn more about on this topic and other health and wellness topics, keep in touch with Workwell. And we'll end for now, and we'll see you again soon. Oh, I'm sorry. I just realized there was one thing that came through that I wanted to speak to. Tarsha, the webinar, sorry, the smoothie recipe for your son's smoothie,
Oh,
have
yes.
the spinach in them. Someone was interested in that, and I thought it might be a good time to plug that we're looking to share, more information on that sort of topic. But if you want to just briefly say, talk about that smoothie as well.
Okay, yes. So if you have, I'll give you a quick overview. So if you have small children, I started my son drinking the smoothies when he was really small. And because it's a green smoothie, I used to call it the Hulk smoothie. So he thought he was getting strong. So, I mean, he's 10 now, he knows his spinach. So what I would do is I would take almond milk and I would take spinach and I would blend that together. And then I would take a banana with some pineapple and mango, and excuse me, banana, pineapple, and mango, and I would blend that all together and it turns green, and then that's how I make the smoothie. So the smoothie is almond milk with spinach, then a banana, mango, and pineapple, and it would turn green, and that's how I would get him to drink the smoothie, because I would call it a Hulk smoothie.
Super. I saw one more question that came through on a different feature through Zoom, asking about cans as well, and just making sure cans are safe. A question about cans being dented. You can speak to that.
I would not go with a dented can, because in a dented can you just don't know. You just don't know if it may have caused anything in there to shift. I would just stay away from a dented can. And then if you can, most cans are now, but make sure it says BPA free, because you don't want that chemical in the can. But most of them are now. I don't even think they even have them that aren't, but you can just make sure that it is.
Great. And you mentioned almond milk in the smoothie.
Yeah.
What about substituting almond milk for something else, like soy milk or oat milk or?
Sure, you can substitute it with whatever milk that you use. That's just what I use. Yeah, you can substitute it with whatever milk is good for you.
Okay. Thank you.
You're
so
welcome.
Again, thank you all, and we will, as I said, stay in touch with upcoming webinars, and you can stay in touch with us via the Workwell NYC's website or our email, workwellnyc I'm sorry, workwell@oor.nyc.org. So I think we'll bring the presentation to a close for now. Thanks again, Tarsha, and thanks again for all the participants.
You're absolutely welcome. Thank you all for joining.